How is it that I stop feeling that I am not good enough? How is it that I stop feeling inferior? How is it that I stop feeling that I am inadequate? Those are the questions that we will answer on today's episode of wari-Q. Every one of us feels inferior at some point of time. We constantly live with this fear, this complex. We're constantly told in so many ways that we're not good enough, that we're inadequate, that we will never make it, that we don't have it in us, that we are not what the world needs. And that's the story we will keep telling ourselves. How many of us feel inferior constantly? How many of us have these bouts of inferiority when we are faced with something strong, we're faced with something challenging, and the first thought that comes to us is that we're not at the right spot. This is not us who can make it happen. This is not something that we can do. This is not something that I'm equipped to do. I'm not good enough. I am not good enough as much as others are. I am not better than the rest. We constantly keep telling ourselves that. And I hope that through this conversation today, I am able to give you something to think about. I'm able to give you a framework on how you can think about this entire inferiority question. This question that haunts us, which is, how do I stop feeling inferior? And it's fascinating how this manifests itself in so many ways. I'll give you a simple example. You're someone who was perhaps raised in a middle-class upbringing. I can totally relate to that. Growing up, never had enough money, hand-to-mouth existence. We were short of money almost always. So I distinctly remember the first time that I went to a really expensive restaurant. And I felt I didn't belong. I felt this was not a place for me. I felt inferior. I felt I did not know the moves and the shakes of how rich people behave. I didn't know what were the dining table manners or etiquettes to comply with. I didn't know whether or how to even call the server. I didn't know if it was okay to speak in Hindi with them. I didn't know how to pronounce a few names of the dishes. Everything as small as going to an expensive restaurant for the first time triggers those inferiority complexes within us, makes us feel why we don't belong. How often has it happened that you would be in a mall and you're passing by a shop that's perhaps selling expensive clothes and you will not feel comfortable entering? Because you just feel that the minute you enter that shop, you will get the looks that will be telling you, you don't belong here. What are you doing here? You're not someone who should be here. And it's crazy how these little things will just become so big. Remember the last time, and I distinctly remember my interview process at ISB, which was the business school I went to. And I'm sitting in the waiting room amongst several other people. I'm wearing a business suit, perhaps for the first time in my life. And I had less than 1 year of experience before I applied to ISB. And in that room, there were people who had done shit in life. There were people with so much work experience. There were people who were working in really large companies, people who were working in really solid roles, people who had great degrees. They came from fantastic institutes and they were just talking amongst each other. And I was like, shit, where am I? Am I good enough? Will I make it? Like, this is the competition. What am I doing? Who am I kidding? This is not where I should be. This is not a place that I belong. And all of these things, your first day at work, your first day at college, you walking in a mall, you entering into an expensive restaurant, you speaking to a rich friend, you going to their friend's place for the first time, you entering a large house and you don't know how to conduct yourself. All of these small things make us so vulnerable, and so naked in front of our inferiority, in front of our fears that we're not good enough, that we're not good enough. And the big question then is, how do I deal with that? Because here's the truth, and let me just start with that, even though I know that this is platitude, you've heard this before, it seems like the right thing to say, but I have to say it. You're good enough. You are good enough. You are enough. You are enough. Whosoever you are, wherever you are in life, whatever is it that you've done, no matter how you feel, I can guarantee you that you are enough. You are enough because you are who you are. You need to be comfortable with who you are and not be pressured by what the world thinks you are. You are enough for your own happiness, for your own peace, for all your calmness, for the satisfaction that you deserve in life. And yet, you will be made to feel like shit because you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. Let's delve into why that happens. Number one, the shit that we consume every day. The shit that we consume every day. Think about it. When you're flipping through a beauty magazine, when you are browsing through an influencer who is a fashion influencer, a beauty influencer, what is it that they're making you feel? What is the emotion that they're leaving you with? Not the fact that you are beautiful, not the fact that you're good enough, not the fact that you're lovely in your skin, not the fact that you are complete, but the fact that you're fucked up, that you're not good enough, that you're not pretty enough, that you're not masculine enough, that you're not bulked up enough, that you're not looking good, that you have to work on yourself. You need this and this and this and so much more to become who you should become. The shit that we consume every day makes us believe that we're living an inadequate life. It's Instagram and the news and everything around us that's telling us that we're incomplete. They're constantly telling us that we don't have something in life which we ought to. And think about it. Most of the world's economy runs on telling people they don't have enough. You are not enough. You have so much more to gain to become cool. You need that phone to look cool. You need that product to look pretty. You need those clothes to look smart. You need that job to come across as professional. You need that money to be successful. You need that car. You need that house. You need that vacation. You need the shit that we're selling you to be complete. Right now, you're not good enough. Question the media. Question the shit that you consume. Question everything that makes you feel inadequate. Question everything that tells you that you're not good enough, because guess what? It is psychologically entering your mind in a way that you're getting brainwashed, that you're convincing yourself this is the truth. I am not good enough. Look at people around me. All of them are so complete. They're so pretty. They're so happy. They're just so content with what they have. I must be the retard who doesn't know how to navigate through this life. I am not good enough. Number two, it's where we've come from. It's everything that's happened to us in our past. How often do we ignore the past? How much will we continue to ignore the past? How much will we continue to saying no to it, to reject it, to not come to terms with it, to not want to face it? In the fear that we will have to confront it, face it. But the truth is, only when you face it will you win over it. The truth is that there is nothing that can be fixed in the future if you don't fix the past. There's nothing that you can do about who you wish to become if you don't solve for who you were. And how did you land up there? It could be how you were raised. It could be what the experiences were when you went through college, school, childhood, anything that traumatized you, haunted you, made you feel like you were not good enough, made you feel like this is not something that I'm capable of. All of those need to be confronted. The number of people who go through their entire lives convincing themselves that what happened to them was their fault and they will not get anything if they try to heal themselves is shocking. The number of people who convince themselves that therapy is not for them. The number of people who convince themselves that speaking about what happened to them is not the right thing to do because that is the past and we cannot do anything about it. It's not the truth. It is not the truth. That is not how it works. You have to think of your past as the stepping stone, the foundation for who you are today. And whatever happened was not your fault. Whatever you went through was not your fault. Whatever experiences you formed were some things that were not your choice. And yet you continue to bear the brunt of it. And that's only because you're not ready to face it. You're not ready to confront it. And that is what you need to do. You need to confront your past. You need to heal yourself if you haven't had a good one. You need to go through a point where you face the past and realize that it wasn't your fault and come to terms with it. Come to terms with the fact that this isn't about you. This isn't about what you did wrong. It's about what happened to you, and that can be fixed. It can be fixed, and it will be. And that brings me to the third thing, which is the active choices that we make on a daily basis. It's said, if you do something every day, you get good at it, right? We all know that. We all know that. You practice something every day, you get good at it. You do something every day, you get good at it. You do something every day, it becomes part of your second nature. You don't even feel it. It doesn't even feel like work. And that's true for every time that you tell yourself, I'm not good enough. For every time that you're scared to make a decision because you think you're not good enough. For every time that you're scared to take that risk because you tell yourself, I'm not going to make it. For every time that you tell yourself, I am not better than the rest and the rest are so much better than me, you have got yourself habituated. You have got yourself convinced that this is your reality. You are making active choices on a daily basis, which are all about You are making active choices on a daily basis, which are convincing you of the reality that you are not good enough. There's nothing that you've done in your current, there's nothing that you've done in your present to try and change this narrative. There's nothing that you've done in your active choices that is trying to change the story that this isn't about me. I am enough. I am enough. I'm enough for my happiness, for my peace, for my calm, for my satisfaction. I don't need more. I just need to become a better version continuously of myself, but I don't need to become someone else. But those choices are hard to make. They are hard to make. And you will always find yourself in a spot where you'll be like, no, because of all the things that have happened to me, this is a natural outcome. But that is when you have the courage and the realization you can change your present by making active choices, and that will slowly, slowly, slowly become a habit that convinces you that your past needs to be healed and that your future doesn't need to be dependent on what is it that you have told yourself. It doesn't need to be a reflection of the narrative you have in yourself. You are enough. The operating word that I live by in life is trust. I think so much gets solved when we begin to trust people. So much gets solved when we begin to see people not as people who are meant to kill, to defeat, to destroy things, but to heal, to become better versions of themselves, to do things that they genuinely want to do. And I will start with trust. It's helped me immensely. It's helped me so much when I begin to trust people rather than not trust them in the first interaction itself. But here's the unfortunate state. Most of us may still be in a position that they are willing to trust others, but we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. We think that we operate with trust because we trust others, but the truth is you only operate with trust if you trust your own self. If you don't trust your own self, you are incapable of trusting anyone else. It's just bullshit if you say that you trust others, but you don't trust yourself. I want you to trust yourself. I want you to know that you can trust yourself. And trust is not about nothing will go wrong. Trust is not about, oh, everything will always be perfect. Trust is about the fact that even if things go wrong, I would have done everything in my capacity to avoid it. And once things go wrong, I will do everything in my capacity to fix it. I trust myself to be that person. You should trust yourself to be that person. To be that person that isn't always right, but to be that person which will fix things if things are not right, and will do everything in that capacity to prevent those things from going wrong in the first place. That's who you need to be. That's who you need to trust. This constant feeling of inferiority, this constant self-bashing, I'm not good enough, I'm not adequate, I am not capable, this is not what I am capable of. This is self-defeatist. You know that. But only when you begin to ask yourself, where did this even come from? Why am I feeling this way? What is this telling me? Do you begin to face it? Do you start to change it? Do you experience what it is to be a person that feels they are good enough, that feel they're enough? Until next week, I will see you all. Please subscribe to my channel so that you know when all these videos come up. I love you all. Thanks, bye. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that whenever we put up a new video, you're aware of it.